Hello everyone, welcome to Learn Data Structures and Algorithm in Python course. In today's lecture, we'll be solving some easy but interesting problems on array. So let's start. Okay, what is our first problem? Our first problem is to reverse an array. Okay, here you can see there is an array given containing element 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 and 70. Our task is to reverse the array. Like whatever in the last, that will come first, then followed by the 60, then 50, then 40, and whatever in the first, that will be goes at the end position. Now think, how can we do that? What is the first thing coming to your mind? Let's see how we can approach this problem. Let's say, okay, this is the array, right? Now what we have to do, we have to just putting this element at the first, then followed by 60, then it will be second, then this 50 will be in the third position, like that, right? Now let's say we have considered an empty array. Okay, so initially it is empty. Now first we gone through from the last. So what will be the index of this, the last element? Let's say n is the size of the array, so it will be nothing but n minus 1, right? Now we have come to the last index, then whatever the value here, let's put it in the new array. Okay, 70, then right, gone. Then this is done. Then we'll move to the previous element. What will be the index of the previous element? It will be nothing but n minus 2, right? Then at n minus 2, what is the value? It is 60. Now we'll be this copying this value and appending this value to the new array. Okay, right? Then we'll be moved to the previous element, n minus 3. Then what is the value? It is 50. We will be appending this value 50 to the new array, right? Like that. And what will be the last index here? Like if we iterate from the last, then what will be the last here? It will be nothing but 0. And what will be the this index? It will be 1. So you can see this is a iteration approach, right? So we are iterating from the last, and we are just taking a new array and we are appending this value. Then when the array is completed, what will be the values? It will be 40, then 30, then 20, then 10. Now you can see this array is fully reversed, right? Right? Now let's say how we can do this. So to do this, definitely we have to use a for loop, right? Use a for loop. Okay, let's see. Let's put it here. Okay. Now, so we have to consider a for loop. So for I in range. Then tell me what will be the range here. We have to iterate from the last. Okay. Then what will be the last? What will be the last element? It will be nothing but length of array, right? Minus 1, right? Then what will be the last index? We're gonna make the range. That will be nothing but 0, right? We are just iterating from the last to the beginning, right? But this 0 is excluded, that's why we'll consider minus 1. Then we'll be decrementing this value by this. Okay, so this will be the loop. Now what is the step? The next step is every time when we iterate over this, we'll be appending. So let's say we take a new array. Let's say new arr. Okay, then initially it will be empty. Then every time when we iterate over this, we'll be appending this new value to it. Then append, what we're gonna append? Arr of current element. So this will be our approach. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna iterate over the array. So we're gonna iterate from the last, length of array minus 1. to the first, like 0, then whatever the value at arr of I will be appending to this new array step by step. Then at last we'll be returning this array, right? Now let's go to our VS Code and try to solve this problem. Okay, first let's take an array arr equals to, let's say, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, right? Okay, now then what we have to do? We have to reverse the array. So to reverse the array, we have to create a function. Let's name it def reverse array. And what is this function will take? It will take array. And so what is the first step? First step, we have to create an empty array. So let's say rev error equals to empty. Okay, then uh let's take a variable n equals to length of error. Okay, we are just calculating the length of the array. Then we will be running a for loop for I in range. What will be the range? Range will be from n minus 1 to minus 1. Then it will be decrementing by minus 1. Okay, then what will I have to do? We have to append this element to the new array. Dot append, then arr of I. Okay, and at last we'll be returning this array. Okay, now let's call it. Let's create a new array. Error equals to reverse array and put error here. Then let's print it out. Print new array. Okay, now let's try to run this. Now you can see this array is completely reversed. Now you can see we are iterating over this for loop using this for loop, right? But in Python we can, in spite of doing this, what we can do, we can, let's comment it out, we can directly return a sub array, or you can say you can call it sublist. And what will be the sublist? It will be like this, minus 1. Sorry, it will be minus 1. Okay, sorry, error of minus 1. So what it will do? It will do the same thing. It will create a sub array, and this sub array will be reversed, like from length minus 1 to 0th index. So if we try to run this, now let's try to run this. You can see this is doing same thing. But here is the problem. When you go to this original problem, but here is a one problem. What is the problem? When we reverse the array, we are not changing the actual array. We are basically creating a new array, right? Every time. So here you can see previously, this is a reverse array. Like we are considering a new array. We are not changing the original array. For this also, this will create a new array. This will not modify our existing array. That's why we don't consider this approach. Now, what is the solution? Let's see. Now, observe carefully. This is our original array and this is our reversed array, right? Now, you can see in the original array, 10 is presented at the 0th index. And in the reversed array, this is positioned at the last index. And also for 70 also, like it is present here at the last, and here in the reverse array it is situated in the first. Now can you think like that? So this value actually swapped, so 10 basically swapped to this and 70 is basically swapped to this. Can you think like that? Now similar for this, so you can see this 20 and this 60, so these are swapped, right? Can you observe? Similarly for this, so this is 30 and this is 50. Now we can see this value are swapped between this position. Now what is the common thing? Can you see a pattern? So let's explore them one by one. Let's say, okay, tell me one thing. What is the index of this? This is 0, right? And what is the index of this? This is n minus 1, right? Now, can we just write like this, n minus 1 minus 0? Now, for the second element, the index of this is 1. Then what will be the index of this? N minus 2, right? But can we write like that? N minus 1 minus 1. Can I write it? Now, for this third element, index will be 2. Now, for this element, can we write n minus 1 minus 2? You find the pattern, right? Now, for this element, let's say it's 3. It will be n minus 1 minus 3, right? We can write like that. If it is 4, I'm writing in above. If it is 4, then this element will be nothing but n minus 1 minus 4. Now, if it is 5, okay, sorry, this element will be n minus 1 minus 4, right? Now, tell me, so let's say, let's take this array. Let's take this array and just paste it here. Okay. Now, let's say we swapping this value. So, this 70 is swapped to the first index and this 10 at the last. Okay. Now, same for this. So, 60 will be added to this and 20 will be added to this. So, you're just swapping the value. So, 50 will be here, 30 will be there. Now, 40 is alone. If we swap them, so it will be nothing but same because it is single element, right? Now you can see when we swap this out, this array is basically reversed. Now, how many swap we have performed? Tell me, how many swap we have performed? We have swapped one times, twice, thrice, right? And 4 times. Here for 44 times. But what if we swap further times? Right? Continue. So we have coming till 40, right? Now if we further swap this, if we further swap 30 with 50, now what will happen? So they will be interchange each other. Then if we swap further, then this will be swapped, then this will be swapped. Can you see the problem? If we swap through the whole array, then the array will be rearranged to the previous one. That we don't want, right? We want to restrict them at a particular position so that array is completely reversed. And tell me, what is the position? The position is nothing but the middle index, right? Whatever position at the middle, till that we have to swap this operation. Now, how to get this middle index? Middle index is nothing but length of the array and will floor divided by 2. That will be the middle index. Let's see what is the length of this array. The length of this array is 7, right? Now, if we floor divide by 2, what will be the output? It will be nothing but 3. So let's say 0, 1, 2, 3. Now you can see this is the middle index, right? Now you can say that, like, if a array has 6 element, okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what will be the middle position? In the middle position there basically will be 2 index, 2 and 3. Now if we just float divided by 2, 6, it will be 3, right? So this 3 will be middle index. So basically for even number of element, we'll consider these two things. Now let's see how we can iterate. Now in the first step, first element, what will be the index of the first element? It will be swapping between 0 to n minus 1, right? In the first step. Now in the second step, what will be the swapping? It will be between index number 1 to index number n minus 1 minus 1, right? So you can say like that. Now in the third step, it will be between index number 2 to index number n minus 1 minus 2, right? And in the fourth step, index will be 3, it will be n minus 1 minus 3. And here we have to restrict it. Now look carefully. If we run a function, if we run a for loop from 0 to 3, 0 to 3, and we swap between error of this 0 and error of, sorry, 0 and error of in minus 1 minus 0, if we swap between them, then error of 1 and error of in minus 1 minus 1, will it work? Yes, it will work, right? So you can see here. So if we swap between them, array of 0 with array of in minus 1, then array of 1, array of in minus 1 minus 1. Now till what we gonna make this iteration? It will be range from 0 to 3. And how to find this? Will be just taking this floor division. So if we divided 7 by 2, what will be the floor division value? It will be 3, right? Now, if we run a for loop from 0 to 3, 0 to 3, then we can do that. And after 3, we'll not gonna run this loop further, because if we run further, then this array will be rearranged again. It will be reversed, then it will be again reversed, then it will be rearranged again. So now hope you understand what will be the range of this loop. Now let's see how we can write this program. So first, let's see how we can run this for loop. So this for loop range will be, so this range of this for loop will be nothing but for I in range. So what will be the range? Range will be from 0 to whatever the length of this array, float divide by 2, right? From 0 to 3. Here you can see, if we divided 7 by 3, it will be nothing but 3. Then we'll be iterating from 0 to 3. That's why we are creating this range from 0 to 3. But the last element is excluded. That's why we have to write a plus. Okay. Now hope you understand how we can iterate this loop. Now what is the second thing? Second thing is to swap the element. Swap the element between swap error of I with error of in minus 1 minus I. Why in minus 1 minus I? Here you can see. If it is 0, then it is nothing but in minus 1 minus 0. If it is 1, we'll be swapping between in minus 1 minus 1. Like that. If it is 3, we'll be swapping between in minus 1 minus 3. So what will be the value? It will be nothing but 7 minus 1 equal to 6. 6 minus 3, it will be 6. Sorry, it will be 3. It will be 3. So this 3 and 3. Because they are basically same element, right? They are basically same element. That's why here 3 and 3. Now the next challenge is how to swap the values. How to swap between them. Let's say I have a jar and containing one type of liquid, and I have another jar containing different type of liquid, right? Now I want to pour this liquid inside this jar and similarly pour this liquid to this jar. Now tell me, how can we do that? Now if I pour this liquid in this jar, so this liquid will be overflown and will be poured this liquid into this jar. To solve this, what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a new jar. Then first what it will do, we'll first pour this whole liquid inside this empty jar. Then this jar will be empty, right? When we pour this value to this will be empty. Then we can pour this liquid inside this. Then when we pour this whole liquid inside this, then this jar will be empty. Now we can pour this liquid inside this jar. Then this liquid will be exchanged, right? Now similar to that, when we try to change the value, let's say two variable, one is containing, let's say 25, one is 35. Now let's say it is A, it is B. Now if we swap the value, if we put 25 to it, then what will happen? This value will be overwritten, right? This will become 25. Then this 35 value will be lost state. But we don't want to do that. To do that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a temporary storage space, temporary variable. Then first, before putting this 25 to it, we'll take this 35 and put here. Okay. Then we'll put this 25 to this variable b. Then whatever store in the temp, then we'll put this here 35. Then what will be the value? The ultimate result will be a will be 35, b will be 25. Now let's try to code it. Let's okay. Now let's take a variable a. Let's put some value 25. Then b equals to 35. Okay. Now to swap the value between them, what do we have to do? We have to take a temporary variable. Now whatever value in the b will be storing in this temporary variable, right? So we have store. Okay, sorry, we'll be storing this b to it. Now what we have to do? We'll be putting this value a inside this b, and at last a will be temporary, right? Then we can swap this to value. So that's how we swap it. So now let's try to code it. Let's go to our VS Code, and this is the function for this array. Okay, now let's try to code it. Okay, so what will be the first step? First step, let's say n equals to length of the array. Okay, why I am taking this n? Because we will be using this n many times. That's why I just taken this n. Now what is the next step? Next step, we have to iterate from 0 to n flow divide by 2, right? So let's run this. So let's create a for loop for I in range, and range will be up to n flow divided by 2. But this is excluded, that's why we just put by plus 1. Then what will happen? We'll be swapping these two values, right? So what will be the two value? The first value will be of whatever element present in the ith index. Will be swapping this value with error of n minus 1 minus I, right? I've seen you that n minus 1 minus I. Now how to swap them? So for that we'll be taking a temporary variable. Temp equals to, let's say temp equals to error of I. Okay, then just remove this. Then whatever value present in error of, so okay, error of I equals to whatever value present in error of n minus 1 minus I, will be putting this value inside an error. Then what is the next step? Next step will be error of n minus 1 minus I will be equals to error of, oh, sorry, temp. Okay, so what is happening? We're just swapping this two value. First, we're just storing error of I in temporary space. Then whatever value inside error of n minus 1 minus I, we are just putting this value inside error of I. Then we are just putting this temp value inside error of n minus 1 minus I. Okay, so this is all about reverse the array. Now let's try to run this. Let's call this reverse array, then put error. Okay, and now let's print the array. So here you can see this is returning nothing because it is modifying the actual array, original array. That's why we're just not returning anything. Now let's try to run this. Now you can see this is reversed. Okay, so the 70 is coming first, then 60, then 50, then like that. Now for swapping without using temp, we can use a cool thing in Python. We can write error of, this is inbuilt method in Python. So first, what we have to write? We have to write what are these two values we want to swap. So we want to swap between error of I and error of n minus 1 minus I, right? So to do that, first we have to write them by comma. Then at the right hand side, we have to write error of n minus 1 minus I, and it will be error of I. So we are just, what we are doing, we are just swapping them by inbuilt method in Python. Now let's remove this out, and now let's clear this. Now let's try to run this. Okay, now let's run this. Now you can see this is doing same thing. This is the swapping, this two value. Okay, now tell me what is the time complexity for this algorithm. If we look at, this loop is running from 0 to 3, right? Means whatever the length of the element will be, that will be divided by 2. It is means it is executing in by 2 times, right? That's why what will be the time complexity for this? Time complexity will be big of n by 2. But we remove this constant term. That's why the time complexity of this algorithm will be big of n. And what will be the space complexity? Are we taking any space here? No, right? The previous approach, we are taking in the space, right? But for this approach, we are just modifying the actual array. That's why space complexity for this algorithm will be big of 1. I hope now you have understood how we can reverse an array. Now let's look at our next problem. What is the next problem? Next problem is to rotate the array by d times. What does it mean? So here you can see this is an array given of containing numbers from 10 to 70. Now if we rotate this array by 1 times, what will it look like? It will be look like this. Means whatever element at the first index, it will be goes to last. Let's try to understand. Let's look at how we can rotate the array by 1 times. Let's say this is an array. Now if we rotate by ones, what does it mean? We just remove this element from this and we'll be appending at the last. So this is actually basically tells what is rotation of array. Now this is single times. Now if these two, then what it will do? First will be taking this element and put it at the last. Then similar for 20 will be putting again. Then the array will be look like this. First it will be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 10 and 20. Now if it is 4 times, then similar task will be doing similar task. So we'll be putting this at the last. Then for 40, we'll be doing the same thing. So if we rotate by 4 times, it will look like this. So here is the question. So if we rotate the array by 1 time, it will look like this. And if we rotate this by 2 times, so this will look like this. And if we rotate by 5 times, it will look like this. Now tell me, if we rotate by 7 times, whatever the length of the array, then how the array will be look like? It will be look like the same array, right? Because we are just rotating the same times, similar time. So when d is n, then array will be look like similar. Now first think about how we can rotate it by ones. Let's see. Let's assume d equals to 1. Means we have to rotate only once. How we can do that? We can't just drag and drop, right? So how we can approach this? First think about that. First approach may be look like this. Let's take a variable called, let's say, temporary space. Okay. Now what we gonna do? We're gonna copy this value. Whatever store here. We're gonna copy this value and store inside this temp. Okay. Now the next step. What is the next step? Will be left shifting these elements by 1. means, so 10 is copied. Now we'll be shifting this 20 to this, means we'll be shifting each element by once. So now 20 is shifted to this. Okay, first step is done. Then second step, we'll be shifting this 30 to the left, then 40, then 50, then 60, then 70. Now you can see there is a empty space here, so it will not be empty, like uh, it will be replaced by 70. So whatever the element, so element will be filled by from 20 to 70, and the last element will also be 70. Now whatever store inside this temporary variable, now we can put it here, right? Then this 70 will be replaced by 10. Now you can see this is completely rotated by once. Now if we want to rotate by twice, then what we have to do, we have to repeat this process, right? Then we'll be taking this 20 to this temporary variable, then we'll be left shift this elements. So we'll be shifting this, shifting this, shifting this, shifting this, and then this. Then at last we'll be putting this 20 to it. I hope now you have understood how we can approach this problem. Now, how to do that? How we can think about that? First, what is the first step? First step is to, we have to take a temporary space, temporary variable, and whatever the first element, array of 0, will be storing this inside temporary variable. Then what we'll do, we'll just shifting this previous element, means we'll be making this error of I as error of I plus 1, means whatever the right value will be copying to this current index, means this if it is 0, so whatever present in one index will be copying this to this index. So that will be the process. And what will be the range? The range will be from 0 to, it is n minus 1, but will not run up to n minus 1, will run up to n minus 2, right? Now let's see how we can write this. Let's go to our terminal. Let's take a array. Let's error equals to 10, 20, 20, 30, sorry, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, right? Now let's say d equals to 2. Let's say d equals to 1. And let's say n equals to length of the array, error. Now let's create a function. Let's say rotate array by d times. Okay. Now what we'll put? We'll put array, then n, then d. And at last we'll be printing this array. Okay. Now let's try to create this function. Let's def, let's copy this. And what it will take array, then size of the array, then how many times we want to do that. Then we'll take a temporary space, temp equals to, and we'll be storing the first element, error of 0. Then we'll be running a for loop for, and it will run from range, it will run from 0 to up to n minus 2, right? Yes. And then what do you want to do? We're gonna shift this element one by one, right? So error of I will be equals to error of I plus 1. Okay. Then at last will be uh, error of n minus 1, will be replacing this value with temp. Okay. So this means it is rotating by 1 times. Now if we want to rotate 2 times, what are you gonna do? We're gonna repeat this process, right? So in the first step, it will this 10 will be added at the last. But when I iterate second times, then whatever value present in the first, it will be goes to this, right? If we run 5 times, then what will happen? 5 elements will be goes to the end, right? So to do that, this process we're gonna repeat for d times. This whole process will be repeated by d times. That's why we'll be running a for loop here also for, let's say, j in range, and ranges will be from 0 to d, and d will be excluded. Then just put the whole thing inside this. Means we are doing the same thing for d times. Now let's try to run this. So let's say d is 1, right? Now if we run this code, so you can see 10 is the first element goes to at the last. Now if we make d equals to 2, and let's try to run this. Now you can see this is okay. I have made a mistake. Okay. So this n minus 2 is excluded. That's why we have to put n minus 1. If we put n minus 1, it will goes up to uh, n minus 2. Now let's clear this out. Clear. And let's put d equals to 1. Now if we run this code, now you can see this is 10 added at the last. Now if we make d equals to 2, now you can see 10 and 20 is added. Now if we make 5, now you can see this 5 element is added at the last, means the array is rotated by 5 times. That is called array rotation. Now let's say how many elements are there? It is 9 elements, right? Now if we put 9, you can see this array is basically similar to that, right? Now there is a catch here. Now let's say if we want to rotate it by 12 times, then there will be error, right? Because we are just not considering if we want to rotate beyond its length, right? To do that, what we have to do, we have to consider a edge cases here. So will be, what will be the edge case? So we'll be doing d modulo d, sorry, d modulo n. Means if it is 12, it will be modulus by 9. Then what will be the value? It will be nothing but 3. Means we have to rotate by 3 times. That 12 or 3, that is basically same things, because if we go beyond 9, it will do the same thing, right? If we go twice, if we go thrice, and twice and 11 times, it is basically the same thing. That's why we have put it by modulo 10. I think you have understood what I mean to say. Now let's try to understand what is the time complexity for this algorithm. Let's say a length of the array is 9, and let's put d equals to 9, d also 9. Now this loop will be running for n times, because d and n are same. And again there is inner loop that will be running for n times. Mean for each n, this loop will also be executed for n times. Means the time complexity will be n star n. Means nothing but n square. So what will be the time complexity for this algorithm? The time complexity for this algorithm will be n square. Now let's see how we can optimize this problem. Now the current time complexity of this algorithm is big of n square. Let's see how we can optimize this. Let's take this array. Let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Okay. Now let's say we have to rotate it by 3 times. Mean this much term will be moved to this. Now 10, 20, 30. Right. So what will be the output? Output will be like 40, 50, 60, 70, then 10, 20, 30, right? Now D is 3. That's why this many elements are moving to this side, and these are remaining constant. Okay, they are basically left shifted to this. Now let's see what we can do. 60, 70. Okay, now D is 3, so we'll be taking up to this. Let's say we reverse this much part, right? This much we reversed. So what will be the output? The output will be like, so in spite of reversing the whole array, we are just reversing this much part. So it will be look like this element will be look like this, and that will be same. And again, if we try to reverse this much, then what will be look like? It will be look like 70, 60, 50, 40, right? We're just reversing some part of the array. Okay, so now how the array will be look like? Array will be looking like this: 30, 20, 10, then 70, 60, 40. Now let's say we reverse the whole array. What will be the output? Output will be like 40, then 50, then 60, 70, 10, 20, 30. Is this the output? Is this the output? Sorry. Is this the output? Yes, right? This is the output. 40, 50, then 60, then 70, then 10, then 20, then 30. This means if we able to reverse some part of the array and similar for do that, then we can reverse this array. So this by this approach, we can solve this problem by very less time complexity in big of in time complexity. Now let's see how we can swap some part of the array. Let's say let's take an array. Let's say this is of index 2, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10 up to this, right? Now let's say we want to reverse the element in this part, right? Whatever present in the 7th position will be replaced, will be swapped the value with 2 position. Then similarly for 3 with 6 and 4 with 5. Now how we can do that? In the previous problem we have seen that how we can reverse the whole array, but for this problem we need to reverse some part of the array. To do that, what we require? We have to require two things: the starting index, start index, and the end index. Here the start index will be 2. Let's assume that it is 2, and the ending index will be 7, right? Now in the whole array reversing, we have make a concept n minus 1, right? We have considered, we have swapped with I with n minus 1 minus I, right? Similarly we'll be doing that, but here the limit will be different. Here the limit will be different. How we can do that? First will be calculating the difference between them. So difference will be 7 minus 2 equals to 5, right? Now what is the difference? That difference basically is this. So difference between them. Now what will be the range? So if this is 5, the range will be nothing but, in the previous problem, the what was the difference? Difference was n, right? That's why we put n divided by 2, right? Here range is difference between end and start. So here the range will be a difference divided by 2. This is float division value. So let's see what will be the value. So 5 divided by 2, it will be nothing but 2. So 2 means it will be it will be varied from 0, 1, 2. Now let's say the first step it is 0, it is 1, it is 2. Now if we first step, if we swap the value between them, so this value will be swapped with this. Then in the second step, this will be swapped by this, and the third step, this will be swapped by this. So here the main difference is the range will be changed to difference modulo 2, difference flow divided by 2, right? Now here in the previous example, we have seen that we have swapped with I with n minus 1 minus I, right? But here, what are you gonna swap? We're gonna swap with start plus I. Start plus I with end minus I. End minus I. Let's say. So what will be the start position first? So it will be nothing but start position is 2, right? So 2 plus 0, it will be 2. Start position is 2. Then ending position, it will be nothing but 7 minus 0, it will be 0. So we'll be swapping, sorry, 7. 7 minus 0 will be 7. We'll be swapping between them. Then what is the next step? The next step will be 2 plus 1 means 3, with 7 minus 1 equals to 6, means with this 3 with 6. Then 4 with 5. So now hope you understand how we can swap a particular part of a array. So what are the steps? The first step is to create a function for reversing a particular part of the array. Then the second thing is to just reversing some part of the array from, if these three will be reversing from 0 to 2, means from 0 to d minus 1. So the next step is to reverse the array from 0 to d minus 1. Then the third step will be from rotate to d to n minus 1. Then the fourth step will be to rotate the whole array. So let's see how we can solve this problem. Let's go to our VS Code. So let's remove this out. Okay, first write the steps. What is the first step? First step is to, we have to create a function. We have to create a function. Let's name it def. Then reverse array. We have to create a function for reversing the array. So it will take array. Then what it will take? We need two index, right? The start index, the end index. So we'll take start and then end. Okay. Okay. Now how to do that? First we have to calculate the difference. So what will be the difference? So let's say diff equals to, difference will be end minus start, right? End minus start. Then whenever we calculated the difference, then what is the next step? We have to run a for loop. And what will be the range of the for loop? The range of the for loop will be diff divided by 2, right? Okay, let's write for loop for I in range. Range will be from 0 to diff float divided by 2 plus 1, because this is excluded. Then we'll be swapping these two values. Which are the values? With start plus I with end minus I, right? So we'll be swapping error of start plus I and error of end minus I equals to error of end minus I, error of start plus I, right? Okay, so this is done. This is reversing the array. It is done. Now what is the next step? Next step will be to rotate the array by d times. Now to complete this function, what is the first step? First step, we have to reverse the array up to from 0 to d minus 1 index. So what is the first step? First step is to reverse array. What will be the array? Array will be this, and will be reversing from 0 to d minus 1, because if d is 3, then we have to rotate up to 0 1 2. Then what is the next step? Next step will be doing this, but this time it will be from d to n minus 1, and at last will be reverse the array error, and it will be from 0 to n minus 1. Okay, now let's do here, and now let's try to run this. Now you can see if d is 2, then it is rotated by twice. If d is 1, let's clear this out, and let's try to run this. Let's try to run this. So you can see this is rotated by 1. Now if d is 4, let's now try to run this. So 4 means 10, 20, 30, 40 will be added at the last. 10, 20, 30, 40. Yes, this is giving the correct answer, right? Now tell me what will be the time complexity for this algorithm. First, look at this function, rotate the array by d times. So we are calling this function. Then what is the first step? It is calling this reverse array function. Then if we go to reverse array function, you can clearly see this is a for loop here, and for loop is running only n by 2 times. So we have uh, that's why we can say that what will be the time complexity for this function. It will be nothing but big of n, because it is just iterating over the array. Then it will be O of n, then this will be also O of n, because we are just calling this function again, and this will be also O of n. O of n, right? So O of n, O of n, O of n means what will be the time complexity for this algorithm? It will be nothing but uh, let's say it will be nothing but 3 of on, 3 of on. But we remove this term, so what will be the time complexity for this algorithm? It will be nothing but O of n. So that's how we can optimize our code. So in the previous solution, the time complexity for this algorithm was big of n square, but this algorithm having the time complexity of big of n. I hope now you have understood the problems, how we can rotate an array by d times.